Hi, it's Joe Morgan with the Tech Leader Spotlight podcast, where we interview tech leaders to learn about their journey and leadership lessons learned along the way. This show is brought to you by the Tech Professional Money Operating System, where we help tech professionals who know they're doing well financially, but aren't certain if it's enough. And they also know that they can achieve more potentially with the finances that they have. We help you invest cash wisely, make the most of stock awards, minimize your tax bill, and create clarity and confidence so you can spend less time thinking about your money and more time living the life that you want. If you want more information on this, look me up on LinkedIn. That's Joe Morgan at Best Financial Life. Today, I'm very excited to have on the podcast Joel Lipton, who is a UX designer at Amazon and an experienced leader who specializes in AI augmented systems product strategy, and he's also an inventor. So welcome to the podcast, Joel.
Hi, Joe. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah,
Great to be here.
absolutely. So AI, augmented systems, product strategy, and inventor. I want to know more about all of those things. So tell me what all of those phrases mean to you and how they relate to you.
AI product design and AI systems is really just a fancy word for how AI integrates into people's everyday lives, whether that be at the individual level or at the enterprise level. And really, it's the central piece to it is about trust. How do people trust AI, working with AI? How do they trust the answers AI gives them? That sort of thing. And my inventions also play into that as well. Now, how can we make AI reproducible so that you can predict AI behavior and therefore you can trust it?
So what sort of inventions are we talking about? Like what's out there that people would might recognize
Oh, well,
or,
I mean,
or
I can
or
speak
that they
about it.
might be interested in, I should say.
Sure, I can speak about it at a high level.
Sure.
Basically, my patents have to do with AI reproducibility. Um, the Achilles heel of AI, particularly Gen AI and agentic AI, is that the outputs are not reproducible, right? Sometimes they work great, sometimes they work not so great. The current AI observability tools tend to be rather post hoc and very limited in terms of what they can analyze. But my systems and my inventions do make AI outputs reproducible, so you know the exact conditions and how to reproduce them.
Interesting. And how is that how do you think that, like, your dream scenario, not maybe immediately, but dream scenario, how do you think that'll be applied?
Well, it's a good question. I think at the basic level, so I'll give you a consumer level example. If you ever generated an image with AI, I think everyone knows the pain that if you want to go back and change one little thing,
Uh,
like it doesn't work, right? It regenerates the whole image, changes things you don't want to. Using my system, you really can't just change that one little thing. At the enterprise level, it makes the systems a lot more trustworthy. So things like healthcare, finance.
yeah, that makes a ton of sense um, because of the way AI works. I see what you're saying now. It kind of can go back to the drawing board on things that you're not really wanting it to. And so that's the okay, so that's for the reproducibility. That's really cool. I just over the weekend introduced my parents to using Chat GPT, and they're in their 80s,
Wow.
and they're loving it. And they're doing very simple things, right? Just, my mom creating quilt patterns for quilting. My dad's fixing stuff around the house, because nobody, those technical manuals don't really mean anything to anybody. But it's just such a part of the future. That's great. Very exciting stuff. And then you mentioned also product strategy. So tell me about that.
Product strategy, I mean, it's really the same thing as UX design these days. In terms of when you want to design a product, you need to match up business value with customer or user value and marry those two things, and that's how you make a great product.
Yeah, that's great. Match up business value with user value. Well, that leads into our first typical question today, and that is, what does leadership in the tech space mean to you?
Yes, that's a really good question, especially as we head into the AI era. So AI is such a new field and it's advancing so rapidly that the paradigms of the past do not necessarily apply to the paradigms of today. So, what good leadership requires in this AI era is the confidence to move forward without constant external validation. Sometimes you're not going to be sure if you're wrong or just early, or if you need to adjust. So, I would say that confidence to move forward would be something very important for leadership in this area.
So confidence to move forward without external validation, but doesn't that also come with the ability to identify when you are going down the wrong road?
Yes, yes. So it's important that you remain grounded as well, but not to never seek external validation, but especially in the early stages, you're going to need confidence to pursue things, to move things forward, to take calculated risks, things like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It just occurs to me in this conversation that with all of the things that AI is going to be able to do, all of the repetitive tasks, all of the things that are not, let's say, not creative, what does that leave? Well, it leaves the creative things. Well, what is creative? Well, you have to create, meaning you've got to do things that people haven't done before, or that the general consensus is that you shouldn't do them or they don't work, right? You've got to step out of the box. So that's interesting. So confidence to move forward without external validation. And how have you been able to do that yourself?
Well, that's a good question. I would say it was something I was doing long before AI. If you're in any fast-moving field, especially technology, you do need to take calculated risks. You're not always going to have the perfect data, the perfect modeling of these scenarios. And it has a lot to do with launching products as well. So after you gather all the requirements and you're ready to launch a product, you need to make a go or no-go decision. And that's when you do calculated risk taking.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And with all the challenges in the job market today, there's a lot of layoffs and fear of layoffs, which is wider spread than actual layoffs, right? By definition. What are some of the things that people can do to create resiliency in the job market?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think there's 2 points I want to say on that. So one on the professional level and one on more of the personal level, mainly meant for new grads in this environment. So I'll start with the professional one first. The easiest thing you can do to begin preparing for AI is just begin by using the tools, right? Like start using ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, like you mentioned. Starting with those very low stakes use cases is the perfect way. I asked ChatGPT how to iron my shirt this morning, gave me pretty good advice,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And then you can start help using it to help you at work and integrating it into your current workflow. On the personal level, it's a tough time now for new graduates. It's something we hear in the news every day. I think if there's any new graduates listening to this, you should know that this situation isn't your fault and it's not a reflection or some kind of moral failing on your part. You can get through this situation. Everything's going to be okay. You just need to remember to stay adaptable. And starting by using those AI tools and building some of those skills is a great way to do that.
Yeah, and I think what we were talking about before, that in this new world, you got to be creative, you got to do things outside the box. That's very much, the same thing, right? Being adaptable is great, especially when you're starting out and there's so much to learn. But even at that level, don't you think you've got to bring some level of creativity and some difference to the table?
Yeah, it's a good question. And that's why I mentioned starting to get familiar with these AI tools and start integrating them into your workflow. In the coming years, that will be one of the key differentiators. And you hear this a lot in the news as well. People who can use AI, people who don't use AI. There's going to be a division between those two groups, or
Yeah,
so they say.
it's kind of like, for my generation, which is a bit older, is the people who refused to use the internet for a while. I mean, I know that's hard to imagine today. But it's very, very true. There were people who just totally dragged their feet for years and years, if not decades. And there's certainly older people now who've never been on the internet, never used a computer, never really used a smartphone in the way it's intended to be used. And I think your world just gets smaller and life becomes very difficult when you don't keep up with those things.
Oh yeah, there's a quote that I like about AI where it's refusing to use AI in 2025 is like refusing to use the internet in 2005. I mean,
Totally. Yeah.
you can do it, but it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, imagine how that would work out for you. Wow, that's great. Well, I appreciate all the answers that you've given so far. No, one more question, one more big area. What's the most important financial decision you've made in your tech career whether it's about compensation or equity, personal spending, choice of job, choice of location, whatever it was. What's the most important financial decision you've made?
For me, I would say it's about getting smart about investing and allocation of resources. Working in tech, some of my friends make a lot more money than I do, but they were telling me that they keep all of their money in their checking account. And those kind of things really shock me because inflation is going to eat away at their savings. And it really wasn't until relatively recently, a few years ago, when I thought to myself, okay, I'm getting older now. It's time to really sit down, take a serious look. What my long-term goals? How can I achieve some of those goals? And investing was part of that.
That's terrific. Well, I appreciate all the advice you've given us. You've given us a lot to think about. A lot of good things there. So thanks for joining us on the podcast today, Joel.
Oh, thank you very much. Great to be here. Thank you.
Terrific. Just as a reminder, this is sponsored by the Money Operating System, where tech leaders gain clarity and control of their finances so they can live out the rest of their life with intention. If you want to know more about us, look me up on LinkedIn, Joe Morgan at Best Financial Life. Until our next episode, let's all focus on making the next right decision.